going to show you what that kind of looks like a little bit and have some testimonies to talk about in a few minutes from our schools. So you're here because you expressed interest in being a part of this project for next year. We wanted to make sure you know what you're getting into and how we hope that it can support your goals for mathematics in your buildings. We've got, like I said, we've got a couple of high schools that are here that have been in a pilot phase, but they haven't been in our administrative piece of that, and so that we've invited them to come. So some people in the room have some experience with MDC, but we want to make sure that you know what it really is. It's a framework for teaching the standards, okay? And it's more about teaching teacher effectiveness. The great thing about this MDC is we have a lot of tools that we use, and the tools are there, and there's lessons available for them to use, but we really are about strategies and best practice. And so not only are teachers going to use some common lessons, but they're going to learn about how to approach mathematics, you know, and where we're using great strategies. And tools are designed to deepen the students' understanding. So we know that our Vision 2020 is about deeper learning, and we've been saying all along, I don't need to do anything different to meet this vision. We just need to do MDC at a larger scale. So it's, like I said, we've offered tools. I didn't want to read off a slide. I don't read off slides. But we've already talked about this. There's tools, informative assessments and summative assessments that we use within those, but it's also basing on the 5 principles. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute for the assessment for learning. So I'm going to let Kana come up here. She is our project coordinator that works alongside, because we have 2 pots of money that we use to support this program. One is a KDEIT grant, and one of the pieces of that is having a project coordinator that's a teacher support, and so Kana is that person that takes that role, and then the other pieces are Title II funds that we were able to secure for this. So she's going to take you through a couple slides.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're so glad you can be here. I'm going to talk to you for just a moment about the 5 principles of MDC. Part of being a part of this initiative is your teachers and goal planning coaches, and we offer it to you as well as leaders of your buildings get to come to training where we talk about these 5 principles of MDC. And these principles are really things that can transcend just more than across the math classroom. They can transcend into most of the classrooms in your building. And so the first principle is the big idea of assessment for learning. We want to see teachers and students using daily evidence, minute by minute. This is based off of the work of Dylan William, never say his last name right. But using the evidence of student learning to make instructional adjustments, minute by minute, day by day, second by second, because we want to continually move students forward in their learning. The next thing are the 5 strategies of assessment for learning. We're going to go through those in more detail in just a second. And then we have the standards for mathematical practice. So these standards, not only do we have the content standards for mathematics, but we have these standards for math practice that think about the habits of mind. How do we want a student to behave as a mathematician? How do we want them to act and think? We want them to persevere. We want them to reason, to solve rich problems. We want them to be able to construct viable arguments and use tools appropriately and strategically. So these are some of our mathematical practices that are evident in the tools and strategies that we use in this. 4 and 5 go hand in hand. So in the math classroom, one of the philosophies I talk about when I coach teachers is ask more, talk less. And so though that idea kind of goes with 4 and 5, we want to see students involved in productive struggle. So we want to see them take a really rich problem and think through that deeply and critically. We don't want to just tell them what to do. We want them to think for themselves and think collaboratively and work collaboratively come up with a solution to problems. And then we don't want to be leading them away with the GPSing. So if you think about, Leslie does a really good job of showing you like a map versus like a GPS who gives you guided directions guide by guide versus a map where you gotta have to figure out for yourself. So we talk about that in no GPSing. And then our 5 strategies of assessment for learning. So these 5 strategies strategies, we want to really see a shift in teacher instruction. We want to see these strategies come out in their daily lessons. But we start with the tools of MDC to show teachers evidence of how these 5 strategies would be implemented within a lesson. And we walk them through with coaching, in-the-moment feedback to help them see evidence of these strategies. But they're clarifying and sharing learning intentions, so we really want teachers to be explicit about what are the goals for the day with the student, so a student kind of knows where they're going with their learning. We want them using rich tasks and engineering discussions among students so that they can collaborate and work together productively. We want them to provide feedback to move them forward because for the struggle to be productive, they need that feedback to move them along. So, and that feedback is usually in the form of questions, not telling. And then we want students to activate themselves as learners of their own knowledge and then use each other as instructional resources. So that goes with the collaboration. The C part of MDC is that collaboration, and that's strategy 5 for us. So as you all get involved in the program, hopefully you're going to commit to be a part of this. Through training, you'll learn more about these strategies. Through the coaching visits and observations, you'll get to actually see what these strategies look like. Your teachers and students enacting these strategies. So just a little brief summary of those. Now we're going to move forward and talk about data. What would you like to say this second for MDC?
Well, really, truly, the exciting part about this is this past year, at the very beginning, we had 15 middle schools in this project because it started out to be a middle school initiative. And our middle schools have, like, overall, 13 out of 15 of them made significant gains. We're talking about an average of 4 points, and it wasn't just all students, but our gap students as well, which is where we're trying to hit. So we've seen that. And then we look at the research for action, and these reports say that this helps them implement Common Core standards, it supports student engagement, it enhances students' mathematical knowledge and skills, and it raises their teachers' expectations. Because we know that's a hard sell sometimes. Our teachers, we have to sometimes convince our teachers that the kids can. You know, so because if the teachers believe, the kids rise to those expectations. And so that's a really hard sell sometimes because we have been taught mathematics very traditionally. Most of us were in classrooms and we were told how to do it, and then we did 20 problems just like it. And so we're trying to shift that because if you look at all the research and the jobs that are out there in the markets right now, they don't want people to do that because guess what? Our technology takes care of all those things. It has all those algorithms. If you put stuff in it spits out the numbers. It wants people that can problem solve, that can critically think, and so we're trying to get our kids to look at mathematics in that way so that they're solving it in rich problems and applications. And so MDC supports that model, and it helps with that. Joe Prather also did a study with our teachers that have been a part of it, because this is technically our 3rd year, right? SRAB came aboard 3 years ago, and then KDE also picked, so we had 15 schools. And he did an analysis of MDC teachers versus non-MDC teachers, and what he found was a significant difference between student scale scores and growth scores of those students who had MDC math compared to students with non-MDC math. And he, like at the same school. And so I'm going to bring up, because the best things for you to hear from is not necessarily for me, because you might think I'm just going to try to sell something to you, but I want you to hear it from a colleague. So I've got 3 folks here from Newburgh that are going to come and talk to you about their experience. They've been a part of this project since the beginning. Thank you.
Okay, combine your clip keys off. You know how you hook them onto you? Awesome. Okay, good afternoon.
Hi.
Okay, good afternoon. Yes, Lord, I know we're all tired, right? So here's the deal. I'm Nicole Liddell, principal at Newburgh, finishing my 4th year there, 3rd year with this MDC initiative that's not now an initiative, it's what we do at Newburgh. I'm going to speak with you 1 minute or less, so then I can have my colleagues come up. You're going to hear from Stacy Urban, our 8th grade principal, who is the administrator who helps support MDC as well, and you're going to hear from Karen Jackpots, a teacher who's in the trenches, who literally, very old school, rows, desks were perfectly in rows, and students sat down, and she stayed at her one spot. Am I lying, Karen? No. All right, it's different now, but bottom line, it didn't start that way. And it has taken 3 years, and we're still working. We're not perfect. There are no secrets at Newburgh. But I will share this with you, administrators to administrators and anyone else in that position. You've got to make sure, even with these little bullets, you've got to make sure that your colleagues know what's going on, and you're just not doing the lip service. But they know what MDC is. You also have to make sure that you first connect with the right teachers, not to get buy-in, because that's just temporary, but just to get investment. Okay? Because even if you start slow, you start slow to go fast, right? So start with the right person or a couple of people to get the investment. And then don't expect for it to happen overnight, because again, 3 years with this concept of a different style of our kids learning math, that's tough. But definitely make sure you are constantly communicating, my 1 minute's up, constantly communicating with all colleagues about what is going on so they know the language and it's authentic. Pick the right folks to begin with, because when they're invested, then they can have others drink that Kool-Aid, and it makes it easier. Bottom line, kids will benefit, period. For us at Newburgh Middle School, Stacey Irvin, as you start coming over, I don't mind sharing. I had to be very intentional about what colleague is going to help me lead others. Stacey has a math background. Stacey loves the idea of letting kids freaking struggle for a bit. Don't give it to them. So with her acting as a leadership, in this leadership team to support our teachers, it's been golden. I did try to get savvy with some funding and help pay, because when you pay teachers, guess what? They will come. And when Stacey Irvin feeds teachers, they will come. So we have a nice little partnership going on to support our teachers at Newburgh through this process. And even before this meeting, I was sitting in my office talking about how we are crafting classes next year in the master schedule that promote that productive struggle with math. You know, and Leslie happened to be there, but anyway. So for us at Newburgh Middle School, we didn't know what the heck we were getting into, but this has been great for our kids as we keep, moving up. All right, Stacey Irvin.
You're talking about the data, right?
Oh.
Just make sure they know the data.
Here's the deal.
Okay.
The data is big. All right, so again, Newburgh Middle School, no secrets out there. Everyone asked, did you make your AMO? Because AMO is the way to go. And no, we didn't. We missed it by 0.7 of a point. But we were the only middle school in JCPS to make gains in all 5 tested areas. Gap kids rocked it out. If you look at our data, and of course, one indicator doesn't mean, did you make your AMO? Psh, no, we didn't. However, you look at our data, and we're pleased. You hear me? We're pleased. And again, it doesn't happen overnight, but we are getting it, okay? So, Stacey Irvin, is that good? Awesome. All right.
I just said everybody wants to know what's the data say.
Oh, they do. What is it?
What's the data?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. She spoke in 1 minute.
No, I didn't. That was more like 3. Go ahead, Stacey.
And I'm going to do my best to speak in less than a minute. What's your name?
And
It's after 4 o'clock. I'm sorry.
I know, you too.
I'm just going to speak briefly. I have like a couple of little handouts. You can read them for yourselves. But one of the things, some of the things I wanted to share with you, as Nicole said, Newburgh had to take a real close look at ourselves, and it wasn't something pretty. Our data was not good, especially in the area of math. We could come up with all kinds of reasons for that. Many times we like to blame it on the kids. We have a certain kind of kids, they come from this group. We have more comprehensive than AP kids. We came up with all the excuses. And finally, we just had to get to the point that maybe, just maybe, it had something to do with us. So we had to take a real good look at ourselves and realize that our kids deserve more. And we had to step out of the box to do something different. Even though that something different did not necessarily feel good, we had to do something for the sake of our kids. So we've been in the program for 3 years. What have we done differently? Well, just a few things that we focused on sustaining the movement that we have started. The first year, I think we had 4 teachers.
Yes.
One from each grade level and an ECE teacher. Started off small, and then each year we continue to add teachers on board. With this being our 3rd year, all teachers at Newburgh have had some experience with MDC. Again, we still have a way to go. We've changed our master schedule in order to support MDC so that we could have PLC time during the day and common planning. And that common planning was important so that teachers were able to work together to implement the things that we were asking them to. Also, it allowed them to minimize their level of stress, because as they were going through and preparing, they had a lot of sounding boards, a lot of people to work with. So that was also key. We were trying to be very intentional about certain things, making sure that teachers understood initially the first year it was, what is a foul? And yes, you will do one. And yes, Leslie will be here. It's just the initial part of it. And then very intentional about making sure that teachers had a support group, and we'll talk a little bit more about what some of those things are. And then we also made sure there was opportunities for teachers to go outside of their classroom and see fouls in place from other teachers, just so that they can say, ooh, from sitting from this perspective, I would have done, and then can mentor each other was also huge. I'm going to skip that page, you all can read it for yourself. One of the things that I think is unique to Newburgh is that I also was able to attend all of my teachers' trainings as an assistant principal. That was huge for me. Yes, I have a math background, so that kind of stuff was fun, but it allowed me to actually participate, and not as an observer, but as a participant, as my teachers would. Gave me more information than my teachers could come back and say, I need this, I need that, I need this, because right there at the table, we can problem solve. Okay, we just got this information at Newburgh, what is that going to look like? And so it was very hands-on, and it allowed me to provide my teachers support, not just from what they heard, but because I was already there mentally with them, as well as physically. So it kind of gave us a jump on that, as well as helping me to understand exactly what am I asking my teachers to do. Many times we would be like, okay, we need you to do a foul, but really, what is a foul? Well, if you haven't experienced that or gone through the training, you might think, well, the teacher's just going to teach a lesson. There is so much more to preparing for a foul, and there's so much, a lot of rich data that you would receive from it, and actually it is the second part of the data, and what are you going to do with that data after you've implemented this lesson. That's the huge part. You might not have gotten that if you weren't a part of some of the training. And when you work with Leslie, who is golden, by the way, you will, as an administrator, be, I won't say you will gain a lot of practice as well as being able to guide your teachers in that process. So being there has helped me with their expectations, and I'm going to tell you this, oh my goodness, your teachers will struggle and think, oh, I can only do this with my AP classes, initially. And then helping our teachers to understand, as Nicole had said, all kids can succeed. So it is a mind shift, and it's 3 years. Some of our teachers, it's night and day. You're going to hear from one in a moment. But then you're going to have some teachers who are still struggle, I'm sorry, can you talk right now? Thank you for saying that for me, with our comprehensive kids. But the surprising thing is, and I'm hopeful Jacqueline will speak to that, it's our comprehensive kids that have made the biggest gains at Newburgh. It's not our AP kids, which has been eye-opening for us in that, okay, so then what are we doing or not doing with our advanced program students? But it is encouraging to the fact that our comprehensive kids are the ones that are making the highest gains, our GAP kids. And so that is a win-win, which is usually the thing that most schools are looking for. So being there, highlighting your strengths, talking with teachers and doing that. The last thing I'm going to say, because my minute is almost up. The last thing that I am going to say is we would often meet together. After school, you would come into a meeting and you will see teachers up teaching other teachers and teachers in the role of students. We would have a whole lot of fun. Sometimes we would have the bad kid and all that kind of good, the whiny kid, all that kind of stuff. But it was good for our teachers, one, the teacher who was presenting the file, to have gone through the whole file, to think through questions, to think through, oh, what if, when this happens, what would I say, what would I do? It was also beneficial for my teachers who were also there so that they could give good feedback to the person who was presenting. Because many of them would be presenting that same file themselves. So it was a rich PLC in which we were able to share and build upon each other's strengths. Of course, as Nicole said, if you feed them, they will come. And so we like to do a lot of laughing and eating. Thank you very much.
Okay, I've been called a lot of names and y'all are probably a little confused, but for 22 years in the system, I've been Karen Jacqueline, and recently I got married, and my last name's Potts, and the kids call me Jackpots at school, so that's why they keep referring. I've been in JCPS for 23 years. I've been at Newburgh Middle School for 23 years. So, yes, I was that old-fashioned teacher where my desks were in rows 32, and we either worked out a book or a worksheet. Every Friday was a test. That's the way I rode for 20 years. And for some kids, that was fine. But like Ms. Adele and Ms. Irvin said, you need to find the teacher that is open-minded and ready to try something new. And that's the kind of person that I am. I knew that I can look in the mirror and go, you're not doing something right anymore. Something needs to change. So they said, Karen, you're going to this training. And if you've been in JCPS for that long, you know, my first thought was, here we go again. We're going to learn something new. It's going to stick around for a couple years and then it's gone. But hey, I'm going to just go, drink the Kool-Aid for a couple years, whatever. What sold me on this was Leslie, Texas. Okay? Told you I was going to throw you out here. And then after spending 2 days with Leslie, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. The support that the district gives us is not like anything else that we've had before. Yes, there'll be other meetings that teachers can go to, okay? But Angela's team will come out to your class and work with you and your students. And it's not an evaluation. They will work with you and your students, and then they will meet with you and tell you, hey, this was great, this is what you can do better. And it's not a feeling of, oh, you're just a pitiful teacher, whatever, you're not being evaluated. And then the support I got at Newburgh. Stacy and I have worked together for years, 15 plus years.
I'm not that old.
Yeah, I know you're not that old, but I am that old. That sort of support. So, I was like, okay. But what really sold me on the change? And I'm not perfect. And Newburgh's not perfect. And this was not in the first year. Was on my last FAL, my first year. And I had the kids write something and tell me what you liked about a FAL, or just tell me something about the FAL. And my kids said, what I like about doing the FALs is that you're not up there teaching. we're in a group, we're discussing, we're talking, we're manipulating things. It's not you up there just teaching us. So, whoo, that was like, So, the way I have changed, and it's not every single day in my classroom. Some days we are doing a worksheet, but it's not 32 problems. It might have 32 problems on it, but the kids get to pick 15 of their own problems they want. And maybe they're working together, collaboratively and discussing. But I've changed my way of thinking. Doing things differently, doing card sorts. We do a lot of whiteboard things. We do a lot of discussions. It's just not me up here talking like I'm talking to you all. I've changed my thinking. So when my 8th grade teachers, the other 2 teachers, we get together in our PLC, I have another teacher that I've worked 23 years with, and she is very traditional, and she's in her 2nd year in MDC. And I come to her and say, Jean, look at this great task that I found online, or if you've ever, Teachers Pay Teachers, it's a wonderful site. Look what I found, it's wonderful. Oh, I gotta have that. She has opened up. And I mean, we're so old school. I mean, it's just been amazing. So, as Ms. Adele said, go to the teachers that can look at themselves and say, hey, I can change. Because you have to have somebody that has an open mind to start this off and has the energy. And I still have lots to learn. I'm not perfect with my fouls. Because the thing about MDC is it's not all about fouls. That it's not, we still have teachers in the building that think, okay, I do the minimum fouls I'm supposed to do every year, and that's it. And I still have my kids in a row, 32, and still do the same old thing. It's just really about changing your whole perspective on teaching, because we are fighting kids with electronics every day and then wonderful cell phones every day, and they need something different every single day to keep them on their toes and keep them engaged, and it's not the old way that we were all taught. So that's me. That's my 5 minutes. No problem.
I just saw my elementary peeps and they said, Angela and her team will come out. Elementary peeps, you know it's going to be me, Kim.
Okay.
Okay. Great. And also, Miss Ray from Price asked me, she said, what is a foul? She said, she's saying file? Foul? Fire? So we're going to let Leslie, what is a foul?
Okay, great. Yeah, and I'm glad that Karen said it's not about foul. It's one of the tools we use. It stands for Formative Assessment Lesson. And it's a lesson that's already been designed for teachers. And it's not to be so that we put teachers on the script, but it's been very well developed to help uncover what student misconceptions are. So it usually occurs about halfway to 2/3 of the way through a unit of instruction. It replaces a traditional quiz or test that you would give in the middle of the unit. And for those of us, and I don't think a lot of you this applies to, back in the Cures days when we actually had a performance assessment that went along with our standardized assessment, it's a little bit like that. There's a paper pencil part that we can use to see and make some conjectures about what we think they're doing. But the best part is the day of the lesson is like a performance-based assessment. So you're going around, students are engaged in the activity, and you're kind of checking in on, oh, you missed that on the pre-assessment. I'm thinking you did it for this reason. Now that I'm in proximity, I can go, oh, that wasn't what she did at all. She's talking a whole different game here. So it's another tool for me to get more information about where they are and where they need to go. And as Stacy alluded to, it's that data that we get from, in the lesson itself, it's been designed to cue students. If they really know, it puts them in situations to recall. And if they don't really know, it informs us, well, we've already taught that, so something has not connected for kids, and it gives us enough information to say, okay, if I'm going to re-engage them after I now have this data, what should that look like? And that's what another thing we talk about in the training. Reteaching is not necessarily always the answer. There's an idea we call re-engagement. So sometimes it means reteaching it, but it doesn't mean louder and slower. Okay, that's typically not the most effective way to do that, although we still keep trying. So thank you, because the formative assessment lessons, again, are a tool. It is not MDC. In fact, it's probably a 10th of what MDC is, because when you look at instructional days that are meant using the assessment tools, you're talking once per unit of instruction. So let's think about that in terms of number of days. If MDC is about fouls, we're spending a whole lot of time and money on 10 days of instruction. So it's about what Karen talked about. It's how did those tools allow me to see it differently? And then how do I need to change my instruction? Because the other thing that's really apparent and where teachers struggle is it reveals that the way I'm instructing to begin with may not be effective. So that's why we have to create this nurturing environment to say to teachers, it's not you're a bad teacher. It's just now we have an instrument to really let us know better about what we need to do. So it's in that discovery of, okay, I'm not a bad teacher. It's revealing, here's where the kids are. And this is what I need to do to help get them there. So that's really what MDC talks about is, we're going to throw this tool in there, but it's through this revealing, what does it tell us about how we need to shift the way we teach and learn mathematics. So the other thing that I'll quickly say here is, what we talk about is MDC is, we only have to have letters because it gives us money to come here. And in that way, when we're talking about something, it gives us a reference. But really, we're talking about the C in MDC. MDC is a collaboration of people talking about what makes for good teaching and learning of math. It's not a program, it's not a curriculum. To be honest, if your teachers never used a FOUL, they could still shift instruction. It's going to be harder because we don't have other tools that are better to reveal that. But if you took the FOULs out of MDC, you could still have this work. So that's the key. And I don't think that's always the message we hear. Because the tools are so powerful, we associate, yeah, we probably wouldn't have had much depth of our conversation if we hadn't had a tool that revealed that for us. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. So FOULs, not foul like in basketball, but FAL. Because formative assessment lessons, it just takes a long time to say that. So everything in education is an acronym, so you can add that to your glossary of
An
acronyms.
acronym if
Yeah.
there's not one, right? So, yes, I'm excited about one of the things that Newburgh, we're very close to Newburgh. One of the reasons why is we're working with KDE and we've worked with some researchers about implementation science. You know, there's a science of that. I didn't know that, but I've learned a lot. Some of the things were like stuff that I wouldn't even bore you with, because you know how research can be really dense. Yes, so it took me a while to realize, but then we realized that what we have done, we are part of their transformation zone, and I don't know if you know, but MDC is one of the novice reduction strategies that KDE recommends, LDC as well. So, you know, they came in and said, okay, we're going to work, that you're part of our transformation zone. We're going to take a slice of the state, and we're going to work with you on this. And we have been working with them on how to better implement MDC so that we actually get what we want out of it, which is implementation with fidelity, that teacher practices changed for the good and student achievement goes up. And so that, you know, and a lot of times, I know that Karen said something about, well, we start something or we put something in action and a couple, 2 or 3 years from then, it's not around anymore and we move to something else. That's the problem, is I think sometimes we don't research and get to the fidelity piece so that it actually changes and sticks. So that if we do move to something else, it's to add to our toolbox, not to take away from what we've already done or stop doing. So that's the good thing. So and the reason why I said that was that they're part of our transformation zone. So Newburgh and 2 other middle schools have worked with us to learn better how we can support schools. Because sometimes at the district level, you can mean well. But then, you know, you can even be in classrooms a lot. But to sit down with an instructional leadership team that says, okay, this is what we're seeing, and we're getting data and giving them more data to look at, and we're getting information back, so it's a give-give. But one of the things that we created for these transformation schools is something that you've got right now, is this give-get, and we've created it for this, as we move forward and scale, because it's been primarily middle school, and to move it to K-12, we've learned a lot. And so one of the pieces that we know is that when SREB came in and KDIT came in, they selected schools. Now, I wasn't in this position, but when I talked to principals, I'm not sure that you all had a choice. I think you were just you know, like one of those things, I'm going to voluntold you. You know, I think they were voluntold. And so selection criteria is important, and that's one of the pieces that we've learned. But what we're giving here, and we're going to walk through over the next few minutes, is to talk to you first about what you receive, what supports we receive, and then we're going to be very transparent about what we need from you. And that way, if it's not something you feel like meets your goals, or it's something you don't think you have time to invest in, then we're not upset. You know, and then it's a mutual agreement, so that we don't feel like somebody's making me do this, or this is another thing I'm doing. Because our district can have initiativitis, isn't that what they call it? Yeah, sometimes, but you know, I won't say that. But so what the district offers, is that what you're going to talk about?
Really, go ahead.
Okay.
I can talk, no, and I don't want to read to you guys, I can just put it over.
Okay.
Okay, but basically, it's a research-informed initiative that yields data that's going to increase student achievement if it's implemented with fidelity. Quality professional development at no cost to the school. 4 quality training days with a nationally recognized trainer, which is our Leslie, Texas. Training teachers to reflect on their practices and make adjustments to continually improve their instructional strategies and practices. And when we've been out to observe at Newburgh, just the impact of that on-the-spot coaching. I mean, I was sold. As soon as I saw it, I was like, check, we're in. That's it. I mean, it was just so powerful. And then to meet with that teacher and that leadership team right after the lesson and be able to talk about what went well, where are some areas of improvement, and even best, what do our kids know, what do our kids don't know, and what am I going to do tomorrow, you know, to reach all those students. So it was just very powerful.
Well, and as they tell you what is quality professional development, it's job embedded. It's ongoing. So what way we make it job embedded is we're in schools. I mean, we can't be there all the time. So we involve instructional coaches in your building and so forth. But at the same time, we're in there giving some feedback and allowing teachers to receive that a couple times a year, at least, so that they feel like, oh, I'm getting some kind of feedback about what I'm doing, so that I can say, oh, I'm doing this well, and this is something I could do better. Because coaching is really, it's a hard thing, and sometimes it's an uncomfortable thing, but it's weird. Leslie, I don't know why the teachers love her so much. I love her too. But no, I mean seriously, they receive her feedback so well that it's amazing to me, because as coaches, as we all are coaches, and I consider myself